Hello everyone, nice to see you in our another meeting of Scientific Dowsing videos. I always ask you to send me questions, so this program will be not about what I think you should know, but rather what you request or you want to know about your comments, your problems, and your predicaments in dowsing. So I always welcome new questions and new people in our group. My name is Alicja Aratyn, and I teach and use pendulums and medical dowsing for many years, since I came from Europe here to North America. Today I would like to talk about a question which I got from one of you. Let me read this. Hello Alicja, I have another YouTube video request for you. It centers around the topic of spinning the pendulum. Can you do a video on why some pendulum healers deliberately spin their pendulums fast, and why some pendulum healers let the pendulum move gradually? I understand that the ideomotor response moves the pendulum naturally, but I wonder, is there really any difference between those two types? Thank you very much for your time, Franklin. So historically speaking, before I will show you how pendulums work in those two situations or other situations, I would like to just give you some historical background of it. So, long time ago, when people started to use pendulum on almost ongoing basis in Europe for different purposes, first thing they did is they understood that the object will move if you will pass the energy to this object to move. So when stone lies on the ground, it will not, except for some wandering stones in United States, you have to push the stone to give this initial energy so the stone can roll further. Of course, if it's downhill, then it will take its own momentum and move faster, but even on the flat area, it will move for some times before friction and other forces will stop it. Since the beginning of 20th century, when we started to understand quantum physics and zero-point energy, which is quite popular recently, dowsers also understood in 1940s, 50s, that there is an initial energy in every object, even if this object is standing still, which means it's really in very stable, stationary position, right? So we can use this initial energy, which is stored inside the object, and add our own energy, or energy which is passed through us from the universe down there, to combine their forces and all together create a bigger movement of the pendulum. Let me show you how it is in reality. So, old-fashioned dowsers will do this. They will move the pendulum, and you see the movement of their hand, and then they will wait for pendulum to change the position or the direction of movement. That is all fine for, especially for dowsers who needs to, for any given reason, have right away big movement of pendulum, big and visible. Why? Because sometimes we need to read or count the rotations. So if I will start to count the rotation with from that, for that minimal movement, it's slightly hard. But if I will give the initial energy and then wait for the pendulum to change direction, then it's easier for me to count every movement as the pendulum rotation pass the specific reference point somewhere in your room and in your environment. Now, normally though, because there is so many skeptics among people who and trolls, among the people who watch videos like this, and they start to senseless discussion about, yeah, it's fine, but you move the pendulum. And I would accept it if someone will say, well, I would like to know why your hand moves. Then I will very gladly engage myself into discussion why it moves. But when someone responds, yeah, you move, your hand moves and that's why it moves, then I simply disregard this message because it will lead us nowhere. So when you think about this 0 point energy, and just to remind ourselves, 0 point energy is a remaining energy which is always present in the object, even if it is in stationary position, doesn't move or lie down on the table and nobody touches it. So our energy, the moment you touch the pendulum, your energy flowing from your brain, your nervous system, muscles, and so on, and going down to the body of the pendulum, connects and interacts with 0 point energy inside the pendulum, and now it is able to move the object. And of course, as I will hold the pendulum, even if I do not formulate any request, the pendulum will start to move faster and faster, depending how strong is the energy which moves through my body. And then, as you can see, because it's heavy pendulum, this pendulum is almost a pound of metal, then it will obviously move my hand, especially that my hand is not supported against anything, to just absorb this kind of wave of energy coming from the pendulum to my hand. Let's now move this. Very big Isis 8.8 is a pendulum which weighs almost 2 pounds. So this is 2 pounds of metal which you hold in your hand, and it starts to move. How it cannot move my hand? It's not my hand because by the movement of my hand, I cannot, and nobody can, create a steady, consistent movement of any object. So let's see, I will move my hand to create the movement. I will show you the movement of my hand as it is when pendulum moves it. So my hand moves roughly like this. Observe the pendulum. Does it have steady, obvious, big movement? It doesn't. So now if I will move the pendulum with the energy of specific velocity, then it will start to move by itself because the rotation is a natural movement of the pendulum, and then it will, my hand will follow. The same, if you would like to try it, the similar situation will happen when you work with a rod, dowsing rod, any type of biotensor, which moves very fast, especially when you're clearing entities, attachments, and things like this. When the biotensor starts to move very, very fast, it simply moves your hand because of the rotation of the object which you hold in your hand. All right? So that's the difference between old school of dowsing, and I'm not saying which one is better, which one is worse. I have many many friends my age who use this old method, and they used to waving the pendulum before the pendulum starts to rotate and will kind of respond to their requests. But there is more and more people, younger people and younger generation of dowsers who do not do that. As I said, unless you need the count, the rotation. So when we would count the rotation, let's say that we want to check the blood pressure, right? And we don't have anything else. We can just take the pendulum, find the wavelength of the person we work for, and hold it here over wrist and only say systolic. Now, if I will start to count from this, it's very hard because the movement is very small. But if I will give the initial energy and add it to 0 point energy there, plus my energy flows there, then the movement is right away fast. And I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on. And then pendulum stops and starts to move back and forth. And you can say thank you, diastolic, and you start to count again. That's one of the reasons and moment and purposes for using initial energy according to today's newer science position and knowledge which we have from progressing science. I hope I answered your question, and I hope that in the future I will get more questions, and it will be my pleasure to present more of problems of dowsing based on science, which we call the scientific dowsing. If you wish, please contact us from Contact Us page on our website if you want to be a member of our scientific dowsing group. It's a private group, so you will not find it on YouTube or anywhere else. But if you will contact us, you can join us, and it will be our pleasure to have you among this community of people, of dowsers, who want to learn more about spiritual and self-development through dowsing. Join our channel if you find it interesting, and until next time, stay healthy and safe.